The Hard Truth, Season 9 with Akosia Konedu. Proudly brought to you by EcoBank.
After 10 years of operations and 80,000 beneficiaries from 152 institutions, the Student Loan Trust Fund celebrates its anniversary, and yet we use under 78 million Ghana cedis owned by over 35,000 beneficiaries. Is this fund still sustainable, and 10 years from now will it be relevant to the Ghanaian society? Tonight on The Hard Truth, I have Mrs. Sheila Naa-Boamah, the Chief Executive Officer of the Student Loan Trust Fund. My name is Nana Akosia Konedu, and this is The Hard Truth, proudly brought to you by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. This is The Hard Truth, and we are proudly brought to you by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and Mrs. Sheila Naa-Boamah, Chief Executive of the Student Loan Trust Fund. It's my guest, and I'm really excited because it's been a very long haul. We've had a woman in the studio, so welcome, Madam.
Thank you.
How are you?
I feel at home with you.
I want to say, how do we say, how are you in Ghana?
Interestingly, I'm not Ghana.
No? How do you get the Na from?
The Na is my surname and the Boamah is my husband's name.
Oh.
Yes, so if you want to say...
Na is your surname?
Yes.
Like Nana sort of thing?
No, not like Nana, like Na as in chief.
Chief?
Yeah,
Oh. So do I have to bow or say... Your Highness?
Unless you come to my village, but here it's okay.
Welcome everyone to The Hard Truth.
Thank you.
Now your outfit celebrated its 10th anniversary in 2015, and in retrospect, what strides has it made by the Student Loan Trust Fund in discharge of its duties in promoting tertiary education?
Thank you very much. The celebration of the 10th anniversary was a very difficult decision. It was discussed severally among board members before finally it was approved. This is because what we intend to achieve with a celebration must be met. And so a lot of planning and strategy had to be arrived at before we embarked on any celebration. A decade in existence is significant. The student loan concept has been in operation for over 4 decades, and one of such decades the Student Loan Trust Fund has been responsible for. So why did we choose to celebrate? We chose to celebrate for several reasons. One was the fact that because the student loan concept has moved houses a lot, people were not sure where to access our services from. And so we thought that a decade was good time to use the opportunity to create awareness on where to reach us, how to reach us, and whatever relevant stakeholders needed to know. Again, 10 years down the line, we needed to start thinking about prospects for accessing higher education moving forward. And so the board had some medium to long-term activities they wanted to engage stakeholders around. And so the decade of existence was good time to start bouncing those medium to long-term issues of stakeholders so that together we would be planning for the needs of our children. Was that successful? To a large extent, I would say yes.
Now, the Minister of Education, stated at the launch that the adequacy of the loan was being considered for review, looking at the increase in the cost of tertiary education. How far has it gone with the process so far?
Yeah, she made that call on the board, and the board is taking a very serious look at how to meet students halfway. But several other factors go into amount allocation. The Student Loan Trust Funds Act specifies that the loan is available to any Ghanaian studying in Ghana in any accredited tertiary institution. And so currently we have 117 tertiary institutions on our portfolio. So it doesn't matter whether it's public or private. It doesn't matter. Once you're a tertiary institution and you run programs that Ghanaians are benefiting from. Everybody qualifies for the loan. So in terms of quantum, what it means is that we have a tertiary enrollment of over 380,000 students. If the amount is increased, we need to be balancing the loan amount and the debt portfolio when they finish school. You don't want to give people too much money to the extent that when they finish school, that money will choke their prospects in life.
So are you looking at reducing the amount or increasing
No, we
it?
would definitely increase the amount, but that decision would be arrived at after several levels of consultation so that we're able to achieve the right balance.
Why don't you tailor-made it to people who are just in need? Perhaps if you want to increase the money, as the minister said, you know, at the launch, you want to increase the money. So why don't you reduce the number of students who come in for the loan or for the application forms, then increase the monies to those who really need it?
I agree with you, and I keep saying it at many forums, that the loan is not for everybody. People who can afford it should stay away
how would
from
you know?
Exactly. That is why we have a certain statistical model that gathers information about the individual, and based on an IT-built platform together with some statistician, would categorize your needs level and give you less or more depending on our understanding of who you are. We cannot individually access the over how many students across the country, but the IT platform, luckily enough, provides a central way of doing that and objectively distributing a scarce resource. So that is how we deal with the issue of distributing.
No, but IT guys are human beings.
No, it's not.
So hold on. So
Yeah.
if I'm an IT expert and then I get an information based on what someone has written, so I'm going to enter that data on it. So what happens
There
then?
are two modes of application, the online and the paper application. And in both application modes, the decision on what amount you are getting is solely based on the information you have provided, the individual applicants. The decision is not influenced by any other third party. It is the information you are providing as you fill the form that decides.
Exactly. So I'm telling you, how would you identify that Akosua Konedu, I need this amount of money that I'm requesting
for example, how I will identify is if Akosua went to school during her basic level at Fanchiniko Primary School and then continued to I don't know which name to use. And then continue to, let me use my own school, Northern School of Business, another village school, and ends up in Legon with an illiterate parent. The system would find, per the information Akosua is providing, be able to assign a higher amount to somebody like Akosua as compared to Sheila, who will be putting in, my father is a doctor, my mother is a minister, I went to this. All those information from the schools you go to have a link to your economic strength, and those links are tied into an IT solution that helps us assign categories and therefore amounts based on your needs level.
I get that, but we'll be right back to stay on.
The Hard Truth, Season 9 with Akosua Konedu. Proudly brought to you by EcoBank.
At EcoBank, we see a great future. One that's full of opportunity for those who want to be the best. With over 1,000 branches of a single bank across 33 African countries. It's a future where trade can flourish without boundaries. The future is breathtaking, with enormous cross-border investments helping business and government build new infrastructure, while individuals achieve their ambitions right across Africa. The future is Pan-African, and EcoBank is the Pan-African bank.
Welcome back, and you're still watching The Hard Truth, and we are proudly brought to you by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and Her Highness is still here, Sheila Naa-Boamah, Chief Executive, Student Loan Trust Fund. Madam, now after completing the course of study, beneficiaries are given a period of how many years? 10 to 10 years period to start repayment. That's 2 years to start repayment.
You have 2 years grace period. However, if you want to pay within that grace period, we are happy to accept it. After the 2-year grace period, you are encouraged, you actually become liable to start paying the loan. And depending on how long you access the loan, you have up to 10 years. If you're a medical student, because they would have engaged the loan for the longest duration, sometimes up to 7 years, they would be given a cut-off.
So 2 years grace period,
then you start paying
after 2-year period.
Yes, so
let's look at this. Now, looking at the business environment today and considering situations of graduate unemployment, how are you unable to take repayment from those who are unemployed after the 2-year period?
Okay, the condition for repaying the loan, when you go for a bank loan, the condition for repaying the loan doesn't tell you that when your business is successful, come back and repay the loan. The conditions are clearly spelled out in the loan you go for. If it gives you a 3-month grace period, after the 3-month grace period, whether your whole business is down and you've declared bankruptcy, they start taking their money, and therefore they would go on to the collateral that you have provided. It is the same concept, except that this one has a human face. So 2 years after school, your loan amount is spread over a long duration. So the repayment amount sometimes are small as 30 Ghana cedis a month.
What's the human face? Then you
The
said you
human
apply
face
some
is
human
that
face.
what the generation we serve have, they are youthful, they are energetic, they have opportunities abound with the skills they have acquired through the acquisition of any form of
Are you
tertiary
saying those who
education.
go for normal loans don't have these skills?
No, I'm talking about 2 years grace period.
Times are hard. I have friends who have stayed home for 10 years after the university. They are still home. So, you know, assuming they went for a student loan and then Sheila, you're on their neck 24/7, pay your money.
Yeah.
Where are they getting the money?
They should
from
find
to
a
pay?
job. There's so much to be done in this country. There's so many places that need
But
help.
Sheila, do you think 2 years is enough? Is
2
it
years,
you
in
know,
fact, 2 years
don't you
is,
have to review that 2-year
2 year-
period, you know, repayment?
2 years is it's good. It's very, very good. You see, what we want to do is, what is the objective of the fund? The objective of the fund is to promote access. And and the sustainability of the fund is closely linked to our ability to recover the money. It's a two-sided balance sheet. Just like you want us to review loan amounts, where is the money continuously going to come from to fund the fund? We need to again work with the people who have benefited to retrieve money to make access a reality for many more people. So we can't compromise on any side of the balance sheet. At one side, you want a certain amount delivered on to students. At another side, you don't want the money to be collected. So please tell me, Nana, where do we get money to continue to
actually
fund
going to
the
ask
fund?
that. So in a case where you don't get the money, what happens to the scheme? What happens
Okay,
to
so
operations?
every loan is guaranteed for, and it's guaranteed for a purpose, because
That's so unfair. So I come to you nicely dressed.
you come to me
and
with the
said,
intention of repaying.
yes, and I tell you, please guarantee it for me, be my guarantor, please, you know, sign this. And then the person believes that Akosia can really pay, and for some reasons, I don't pay the loan. Isn't that a harsh? I mean, the banks do that, but since this is a, you know, a good institution and then applying some human faith, why would you go attacking the guarantors?
We don't attack the guarantors.
Really?
We have a requirement which is in the law. Section 19 of our law requires that every loan be guaranteed for.
Yes.
Because it is state money, and Akosia will be on my neck if anything happens to that fund. And so I agree. What do we do as stakeholders in education to ensure that this fund is sustained for the benefit of future generations? One of the key things we need to do is to promote repayment. Like I said, there are several other interventions in the area of higher education that are not refundable. Get Fund gives a lot of scholarships and grants. Scholarship Secretariat gives a lot. But the Students' Loans Platform is a subsidized loan meant to be repaid. So there is no we don't feel guilty having given you a beautiful degree to go find a job. If we 2 years down the line we come and say, please start paying, even with your national service, you could have started paying if it was that important to you to ensure that people after you are benefiting from it.
Let's look at, I want to look at where you get the loans from. Let's look at the sources of the funds. So you get the monies from voluntary contributions, which will be tax deductible. The monies are from Social Securities and National Insurance Trust. Monies paid into the trust fund representing up to 10% of all these inflows into the Ghana Education Trust Fund. Mobilization of resources from Ghana international partners interested in the advancement of tertiary institutions. So if the monies don't come from these places, what happens to the scheme?
So the people who drafted the law had a lot of foresight. So you would see that we have several options for funding the fund. Repayment is one of them. The contributions from the GET fund is one of them. A section of the communication tax is one of them. And then the other partnerships with private sector or donor communities is another. Currently, we are getting funded exclusively by repayment, return on investment, the GET fund, and the 1% communication. The current board has set up a separate wing that should focus on resource mobilization, because we understand that the health of the fund is grounded in its financial sustainability. So we are developing a lot of proposals, and we are engaging partners in education to partner us to deliver a more credible and impactful students' loan.
So it's not possible the monies will never come. It's going to come all the time.
Definitely. It is also, in fact, what even attest to the fact that it is going to continuously be funded for is the fact that a separate institution has been established to take care of students' loan. Before that, it moved houses. The fact that it is now has its own legislation means that there is a commitment to continue to fund interventions that support Ghanaians access higher education.
Now, because I'm saying this because as at 2014, more than 35,000, which is represent 44% out of the 80,000 students who have benefited from the fund since inspection, have faulted in their payments, amounting to 78 million Ghana cedis. Now, what measures have you put in place to collect money from beneficiaries who have defaulted
the statistics on default is wrong. Our definition of default is a student who has traveled their full loan duration and has still failed to make any payment. And so on our record, we started repayment in 2011. And from the beneficiaries we have supported, we have 37 people on a portfolio of 75,000 beneficiaries who have traveled the full duration of their students' loan.
37 people.
37.
Only 37.
Yes. And of course, this is grounded in the fact that our repayment unit started in 2011. When we took over from SNIT, we didn't take over the liability from SNIT. So SNIT has the responsibility of managing all the loans they disperse prior to our coming in. So when we came in, the people that we are responsible for currently stands at over 75,000, out of which several, close to 8,000 have finished paying off their loan, even way before their duration of loan granted. And 37 people have traveled the entire duration, including the 2-year grace period, and haven't made a repayment. But if the person has finished and is in the repayment phase and you're going, assuming those 37 people, their guarantors have to go on pension. Two things, they may either have to
don't go for their pensions money.
No, the 37 people would have to come and pay the loan, or the guarantors would have to agree to take it out of their. They must agree.
They must. It's like you force it on them to agree.
Because they have signed to do that. They know. Right. I did it for my child. I take financial liability, not the Ghanaian taxpayer.
We'll be right back. We'll be right back. This thing.
The Hard Truth, Season 9 with Akosua Konedu. Proudly brought to you by EcoBank.
EcoBank, we see a great future, one that's full of opportunity for those who want to be the best. With over 1,000 branches of a single bank across 33 African countries, it's a future where trade can flourish without boundaries, future is breathtaking, with enormous cross-border investments helping business and government build new infrastructure, while individuals achieve their ambitions right across Africa. The future is Pan-African, and EcoBank is the Pan-African bank.
We are back on The Hard Truth, and we are proudly brought to you by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and Mr. Sheila Naa-Boamah, Chief Executive of the Student Loan Trust Fund, is still here. Now, education in Ghana, Sheila, is getting more and more expensive year by year, and students will continue to seek more sustainable and, all-encompassing ways to fund their education. If they get that opportunity. Now, considering the adequacy of funds provided by you, is there a way that you would increase, you would say, welcome for the money to pay your fees in totality? Will it ever happen?
Yes, it will ever happen if the stakeholders we are engaging come on board. We don't have to run parallel systems. If we would make an impact, then we need to collectively, centralize our energies. The Student Loan Trust Fund was established solely for the purposes of providing loans to tertiary students, especially the more vulnerable in society. So we are having, and the 10th anniversary made that possible, discussions with the private sector, especially the private sector that is involved in issues of education. Some of them, we all know, do a lot of corporate social responsibility activities in the area of higher education. So we want to work with these corporate organizations and give them the credit for the successes that we would enjoy. But what
so all educational costs will be funded by the
what we are saying is, for example, we know it's quite expensive, extremely expensive to train medical doctors. And if we don't start building collaborations to give more meaningful support to such people, what will happen is that the people from the poor homes, when their kids qualify to do medicine, on the basis of the cost, they will tell their kids, so go and do something else. Meanwhile, as a country, we need a lot more doctors, nurses, teachers. So we must start thinking now about a solution that stops Ghanaians from training only rich people's kids as medical doctors. We must make it possible for the vulnerable but brainy kids who have had admission to comfortably undertake courses that are demanding but relevant without the stresses. I receive a lot of requests from especially students of medical school asking for a lot more money. What I do with those letters is I'll send them to the corporate bodies that I know that do education and say, dear sir, this has come. We currently do not have the platform to deal with it. Can you please capture that under your corporate and take care of this student whilst the fund looks at ways of taking care of this moving forward? I think that those type of partnerships will be progressive.
That's great, but that's for, say, one or two, but on a larger scale.
On a larger scale.
So let's say 10,000 people are in that group. And then you will do that. That'll be amazing.
On a larger scale. So create the platform, bring the private sector here, bring me here. Why don't they want to partner with institutions of states that have the infrastructure that does this?
But have you spoken to them?
I don't want to mention them. I have spoken to a lot. I keep knocking.
As part of their corporate
yes,
social responsibility, they do that.
They do that, but it's not their core.
A partnership. An amalgamation or
exactly.
a partnership or
so
something.
that we would give the loan. The loan helps the students to own their success, of course, but you would come in with a budget that gives them a top-up to bridge the funding gap a bit, because you are right, the cost of financing tertiary education is increasing. But we must also recognize that the middle income belt in Ghana is expanding. So the people who need us are reducing, but they are reducing at an increasing amount.
I think that'll be good.
Yeah,
but
so
now,
we really need that.
How long does it take to disperse the money? I mean, after filling the form, it comes to you, your IT groups captures, and when is the money released to the student?
We thank God there is IT and there is innovation, and so interestingly, you can test the waters. If you apply for the loan online, you would get your money in a minimum of 2 weeks. Yes, in fact, it could be less. What would happen now, and interestingly, SNIT has also done some IT integration, so it's even reducing the time lag. when you submit a guarantor, we would have to do a verification of the guarantor qualification. So that would go to SNIT.
Yes, so you go checking all these things from SNIT and all. Doesn't that take much of your time?
No, you see, because SNIT used to do this before us, they understand the agency to meeting a student's need. So they have a dedicated department that deals with us on issues of verification of SNIT numbers and guarantor qualification. Now with the new OBS system, we don't even have to go to them. It's a real-time online thing we can do from our office. So the time lag for dispersing students' loan is going to get better and better. And that is what we should expect. We need to expect delivery in an efficient manner from us. We can't be static. It is not a plus that we are doing this. It is what we are expected to do.
So if you're out there and now you say it takes 2 weeks or less. So if she's wrong, just hit us on our Facebook. That's Hatchet on Facebook. Share your experiences with us. How long did it take to get your student loan? And if you have any questions and that you want to post to the Student Loan Trust Fund, just hit us on our Facebook page. That is Hard Truth on Facebook. Now finally, I know people are watching and they are saying, yeah, I wouldn't want to go in for a loan because ideally it's connoted that loans are fearful and they wouldn't want to touch, going for. I never went for a student loan. So what advice would you give to students who really need the money but they are thinking it would be difficult paying? What would you tell them?
I'll tell them that education is like health. If you are sick, you have to take the medicine. The student loan is not for everybody. It is for the people who need that support. And if they need it, they must get it to enable them finish school. It is worse if they drop out of school.
Right.
So if you do a cost-benefit analysis, please don't be afraid of taking the loan. For all you know, your parents are taking savings and loans at 50% to support you. Meanwhile, you have the opportunity to be supported by the taxpayer to own your success and take financial responsibility for your education. We are different. We would always be different. Look at your unique situation and make the right decisions.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for talking to the Heart. Mrs. Sheila Naa-Boamah, Her Highness, Chief Executive Officer of the Student Loan Trust Fund. Now, if you want to get in touch with the student loan, send them a WhatsApp on 050-402-1579. That's their WhatsApp number again, 050-402-1579, and call or reach the office through by 0302 231887, again 0302 231887, or 0302 231886. My name is Nana Akosua-Konadu, and the show is proudly brought to you by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Have a wonderful evening. Bye, everybody.
The Hard Truth, Season 9 with Akosua-Konadu. Proudly brought to you by EcoBank.